Last Sunday, I entered the brasserie Het 11e Gebod, the 11th commandment, in Antwerpen, in Antwerp. And I noticed there were a lot of Dutch tourists. Now, Het 11e Gebod is famous for tourists anyways because of all of its religious statues. But it was surprising that most tourists were from the Netherlands. Now, actually, this is not very surprising because since the Dutch government issued a law that it is not allowed to open a non-essential business after 5 o'clock, well, hospitality and shops in the Netherlands are then closed and people look for other venues. Now, this inspired me to create a video for my first year students at BUS University to sort of picture what goes on here and how we can describe this using neoclassical microeconomics. So let's look at the following graphs. And to make a few things clear, the product we are talking about is what I would call Christmas shopping bliss or the Christmas shopping experience. Now, many of us know what I mean. It basically is in the period before the Christmas holidays, we like to go shopping on Saturdays. We like to go shopping and stop for a coffee or a glühwein, then do some more shopping, and then at some point even having dinner, cozy dinner in a restaurant in the city. Now, this is a very important experience for people, and people are willing to pay money for this. So what I have designed here is the situation of Breda and also of Antwerpen. And in both cities, we have Christmas shopping bliss. People from Breda like to go and experience it. People from Antwerp like to experience it. And we could say that that Christmas experience is rather similar in Breda as in Antwerp. Cozy little streets, pubs, shops, all of that. Sure, Antwerp is a bigger city and has more of that, but we could sort of still say it's the same. So here you have a demand or more aggregated demand of this Christmas shopping bliss, and you also have the supply. So these are the blue curves. And as you have noticed, the equilibrium price is the same in Breda as in Antwerp. And I believe it is. You know, having experienced shopping in both cities, I noticed that for most of the basic products, buying clothes or food or consuming food, on average, it's the same. So we could say, you know, equilibrium price is the same. In terms of quantity, there is a difference. Most likely the quantity in Antwerp is bigger just because it's a much bigger city. And well, then we see what happened with the Dutch law. The moment shops, non-essential shops, were not allowed to open after 5, this is what happened to the supply curve in Breda. It shifted up and to the left. Quite simply, several, at least all the restaurants had to close at 5. All the bars had to close at 5. So no business there. You cannot offer the service. And I can imagine that some other shops who maybe on a Saturday would be open later than 5 had to close at 5 also. So there's a reduction in supply, but the reduction in supply is actually bigger than just restaurants closing at 5 or shops closing at 5. I'm quite certain that some people or some businesses were saying, well, what's the point of opening during the day? So they closed, or what's the point of getting extra personnel to sell? There's a possibility that people from Breda will actually decide to take their shopping experience elsewhere. And yes, they have. Because people want to shop, want to have that experience around Christmas. And Antwerp is a perfect substitute for Breda. And as you students and others realize, Breda is quite close to Antwerp. You know, in a little bit more than half an hour, you can be there by car and get parked. So if you drive with a few people in a car, it doesn't cost you that much. And you can have a whole day and a night until 11 in Antwerp. So also for those people who say we need to take public transport, well, no problem. There's a direct train from Breda to Antwerp, which takes you less than half an hour. So really going to Antwerp for people from Breda is not a problem. So it's a perfect substitute. Not only that, when normally people from Breda would shop in Breda, they now say, well, hey, we can go to Antwerp and maybe even stay the night, book a few hotels. So what happens to Antwerp is two things. One, the aggregate demand for the Christmas shopping experience in Antwerp increases. Yes, there are always tourists in Antwerp, but I'm quite certain right now that the amount of Dutch tourists, I'll have to double check this, but is actually more than usual. And those people want their coffee, their glühwein, their clothes. Some may demand even to stay the night, if they have decided to stay in pubs and all that. And what probably also happens, because we know if demand increases and supply stays the same, then prices would go up. Now, in the short run, I don't expect prices to go up in Antwerp, although I'll have to double check. But one thing is certain, is that shops in Antwerp have an incentive to get more personnel. Because, hey, if people come, lots of people come and shop, they need more help, so they'll take more personnel. Probably shops are also allowed to stay open late. So they say, well, let's stay open late. We have all tourists who need these products. Because of that, because of supply and demand, we again have a price which is sort of similar in both Breda and Antwerp. So if we look at the situation, and this situation will continue definitely until the 14th of January. And so again, what you get is that you could say that the supply curve of Breda has gone up and to the left, and you could say that the equilibrium price on average in Breda is now higher. Well, what I mean by that is there's probably quite some Breda consumers who would normally go shopping in Breda and have dinner, who have now decided not to, shop in Breda and then have dinner in Antwerp, but then just shift their whole shopping experience to Antwerp and therefore helping the prices there. So, you know, I'm grateful for my city that the Dutch government made these measures, but of course, for my Dutch colleagues, I hope the situation will soon be under control. Have a great shopping weekend in Antwerp.